name's Kelley Nicholson, and I'm here to talk to you about the IntelliDose. The next menu that we go to is the calibration menu. So we recommend that you calibrate your probes every other week. Most people will find a good rhythm. Some people calibrate once a week, but we find that every 2 weeks is pretty appropriate. When you enter into the inner screen, it's going to tell you that you want to do pH calibration first. So it'll say press enter to start pH calibration. The IntelliDose is very informative, explains to you what you need to do. So you hit enter and it'll say pH 7.0 calibration. At this point you will have your pH probe and you'll put it into your 7 solution. Once you've let it temperature compensate, which is usually 3 to 4 minutes, you use your arrows to dial it into 7.0 and you hit continue. And then it'll tell you to do the 4.0 calibration. So then you rinse your probe and you put it into the 4.0 calibration. Once again, let it sit for 3 to 4 minutes, let it temperature compensate, and then you dial it into 4.0 and hit save. If you put it into the wrong solution, so you leave it in the 7.0 solution, or it's just in plain water, it'll realize that you can't actually calibrate to 4.0 and that the solution is wrong. So if you try and calibrate it, it'll tell you, please check that the buffer solution is pH 4.0, that the solution is fresh, that the electrode is clean, and that the electrode is in good condition. So if you accidentally put it into the wrong solution to calibrate it, the unit will know, won't allow you to calibrate it, and will remind you to put a couple checkpoints in to make sure you've got it set right. And then it'll cancel your calibration until you get the right solution. After you calibrate your pH, then we have our TDS calibration. So the TDS calibration is a little bit different in the way that the controller works. Because TDS has multiple scales throughout North America and Europe, we actually like to calibrate the unit in EC because then we know it's always calibrated to the same amount. And then when you switch over to TDS, it makes the conversion for you. So if I was to calibrate this, I would leave here, I would go back to my main menu, and I would go to my configuration screen, and I would change my nutrient units to EC, go back into my calibration screen, and then after it'll say EC calibration. So you'll take your probe and you'll put it into a 27.7 calibration solution. There's a few companies on the market that make that. Also let it sit for 3 to 4 minutes to temperature compensate, and then you'll be able to dial it in to what you're at, to 27.7 directly. Once you do, you hit save, and then you've calibrated. Now to go back to parts per million, which is going to be a little more familiar to most of our growers, we exit back to the main menu, hit menu, go up to configure, and then go into nutrient units, edit, and go to TDS and hit save. There's different ways that we measure nutrients in our industry. We either use the EC scale, the CF scale, or the TDS parts per million scale. The parts per million scale has 3 widely known scales, the 500, the 640, and the 700. Because it's hard to calibrate when you don't know which solution is on which scale, we always like to calibrate to EC, which is worldwide. So we use the EC CF scales to calibrate, but if you would rather see your numbers in ppms because you're more familiar with it, you can use the TDS scale. From all of us here at American Hydroponics, happy growing.